because my commitment is really to publish a video every week, and I'm traveling, and today it's Sunday, and I'm in the airport, we are going to talk about commitment. And I want to share a bit of my story first. How I started with running and how that transformed me, and then the challenge that I started this year to publish a video every week on YouTube, which you can see here, and extract some valuable lessons from that. First, a bit of my challenge that I started in 2021. I started to a challenge to run every day for in an entire year without skipping. Like this would be 365 days. And one thing I knew back then, even before starting, is that I'm not going to skip. I knew that I'm not going to fail. And looking back, this is 5 years later, after running 5 years, not 1 year, but 5 years every day, no exception, literally no exceptions, all documented, all recorded. Looking back at that point where I started, I realized, yeah, my commitment was absolute. Like I had like a, somehow I found it in myself to have an absolute commitment. Let me just adjust the camera a bit. I found it in myself to have like an absolute commitment. And I knew that my determination was at the level of if I'm alive and I didn't suffer like a catastrophic accident that physically makes it impossible for me, I will go run. My commitment was strong and absolute from the day one, and I knew that I'm not just going to skip. Like there was no decision at any point where like, man, should I go, should I not? Even in the days when I ran with back pain in November, December 2021, just before finishing, that's pretty funny. I knew that I'm not going to stop. I said I didn't run almost 1 year, almost completing this challenge, and now I'm quitting because my back hurts. I'm like, no. If I cannot really walk, okay, then I go to the hospital. They transport me. The ambulance comes, takes me to the hospital, and that's it. Like, but I tried everything. But eventually, back then, the pain stopped. I guess. I guess my I guess my mind or my subconscious realized that I am that stupid. Like I'm that committed. So then pain is that will not do anything for me. So then just eventually it stopped. But from that, I learned that if you start a challenge with an absolute commitment, the battle is won before you even start. And that's a big thing because everyone is struggling with consistency, like being consistent. Like you say something, you do it. You promise something, you do it. This is a world, like it's a global scale problem. And I used to have the same problem until I found it in myself. I found this absolute commitment. This is how I call it. I found this absolute commitment that I knew I'm not going to skip. So what happened with my running challenge is I completed 1 year, and after 1 year, it was, I remember, 1st of January 2022, and I was already 6 a.m. I was near the beach and ready to run. And then I realized, like, wait, I completed, like, I finished 1 year. Like, this is it. Like, I'm done. I was like, yes. But then I said, like, and like, what? Am I going to stop? I'm like, doesn't make any sense. After running for 1 year every day, no exception, stopping or not running, it just didn't make sense. Absolutely. So I said, like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I know that I have to just continue. So I continue. And then eventually I said, like, you know what? Let's make it 500 days. And then when I reach 500 days, I'm like, 1,000. And then when I reach 1,000, I'm like, lifetime, I guess. And now, today it was day 1,872. If you calculate, this is 16th of February 2026. If you calculate from 1st of January, it's 1,872 days. Because yesterday completed past days elapsed, it's 1,871. Anyway, I ran here at the airport and I ran like this. You see this? I ran like this and shoes that I have and some normal pants, and this is how I ran. And because it's hot at one point, I took this out and I was sweating all of that, and then I went to the bathroom and I wiped, and eventually I'm back to looking sharp. But I did the running here. And I want to share this video because, well, everyone is struggling with commitment. Everyone, not, sorry, not with commitment. People struggle with being consistent because there are multiple ways to become consistent. Commitment or absolute commitment, the way I call it, I guess it's one of them, but there are always multiple ways to reach to the same destination. It's not like, oh, I have the solution, follow me. I'm saying like this is what worked for me. And I bet there are other ways in which you can be consistent, because the result that people want is to be consistent with something. They want to be, they know, like, look, they know they are competent enough that if they continue with an effort in a certain direction and they have direction, they maintain that focus in that direction, eventually they will be successful. This is the simple mathematics of life. People know this. But as I was discussing with a friend, I'd be like, my problem, he was sharing, my problem is that I know what I should be doing and I'm not doing it. And I'm like, this is not your problem. This is a world problem. Like we live in a world, like mostly everyone, this is like staggering. And to be honest, I always consider myself very lucky, like super lucky, because I think I struck gold. When I started my challenge to run every day and I found that absolute commitment to myself, I genuinely feel I struck gold. Like I'm doing something that 99.999% of people don't do, never do. And not just that, but I got to a point where now, when I start a challenge, like I started this year, I started the challenge for 1 year directly. Like no, like 1 month, 1 week, 3 weeks, 3 months. No, 1 year. Simple. And I said for 1 year, I'm going to sit down and write every day, or like think of our insights, like like try to crystallize an insight every day for at least 1 hour. And I have to publish somewhere every day. Most of the times, most days is going to be on Twitter or something short. In once a week, I have to publish a video on YouTube. That's why you see me in the airport doing this, because I'm absolutely committed. I could have used this as an exception, as an excuse, like, oh my God, I cannot, it's Sunday, it's the last day of the week, I couldn't, this week was crazy, things happen. But it doesn't matter, because, and that is one of the things that I realized and I want to share with you. When things changed, when I switched from working on the side of finding excuses to working on the side of finding solutions. Like instead of being like a excuser, like, oh, I couldn't do this because I couldn't. People are so good at always having excuses, right? And I used to do the same. But then I realized, wait, I'm putting my energy in finding excuses. Why am I not putting my energy in finding solutions? So therefore, no need for excuses, right? And again, when you have absolute commitment, you won't find excuses because you don't work on that side. That's the problem. People start challenges, they are like committed, but in reality, they're not. They're just pretending. And you can see the fact that they are pretending that they want to succeed only when they are really challenged. When they are really, really challenged, you're going to see that they are going to come up with excuses. And when they do, you will know, like, oh, yeah, it's easy to find excuses. But when I switched from that, when I switched from being a excuses finder to a problem solver, things changed. But the key ingredient of that was the key ingredient of that was the absolute commitment. Because without the absolute commitment, I would definitely not be able. And how do you find this absolute commitment? Because I'm talking about something that most people, like, what is that? Like, it sounds good, it sounds like this, but I don't understand what you mean, right? I shared this example with a client recently who was struggling with something, like, oh, I cannot do this. Same problem, same issue. I know what I should be doing, but I'm not doing it. And I asked him this. I said, like, look, if someone would put a gun to your, I don't know, spouse, friend, mother, father, like someone dear to you, and they would put a gun to their head and they would say, like, look, if you don't go to the gym every day or every 2 days or whatever, I pull the trigger. Would you skip? Like, would you? And he was thinking, we're like, of course not. I'm like, exactly the point. Exactly the point. Because now you're no longer into the finding excuses. You're like problem solver. Like if something comes up, if there is an obstacle, you're not in a position to go like, ma, maybe I can skip, or like, oh, I couldn't because whatever. No, you're going to do everything possible to do it. Like you're going to have absolute commitment. Imagine if someone dear to you might die if you skip, if you don't go to the gym or you don't do what otherwise you should be doing. Would you settle for an excuse? No, you wouldn't. Obviously, you wouldn't. And that's exactly the point. Because if you understand this, you solved it. You see, I say, and it's true that an entire planet struggles with commitment, like having, like being consistent, right? But they're struggling with having to find that in themselves, to be honest with themselves, to be committed. Absolutely. Because if they would, everyone would act as if in this example, if you take the laziest person, the laziest, the most flaky person, right? If someone would put a gun to someone dear to them, to their head, and threaten them, they would instantly become consistent. They would instantly become, okay, I need to go to the gym. They would not find excuses, oh, I'll do it later. They wake up in the morning, I go to the gym. They wake up in the morning, I go to the gym. If the gym is closed, or like if like, I don't know, there is storm, heavy rain, something, they still go. The car breaks down, they walk. And they would never settle for anything less, because now that became important for them. And that's the thing. Most people say verbally that something is important, but in reality, it's not. And the moment when you understand this, that's exactly the moment when you can flip it. Until then, it's just, to be honest, it's just we like to speak good and big words just because that reflects good on us. Oh, I want to do this. I have this challenge. I'm this, but the reality is going to be shown in action. Actions, your consistent actions is going to show reality, and everything else is just fluff. That's why I got to a point where I used to, for example, in my 20s, I used to, when I hear someone talking, I'm like, oh my God, this person is like so driven, so this, blah, blah, blah. But I would let myself to be impressed by words. Now I think like, yeah, we'll see. We'll see, because I know what matters. And what matters is consistent action. So I was sharing with you how I started my challenge to run every day, which it was really the thing that helped me and transformed me the most. And then how I got this year to start a new challenge, like I shared, with something that is way harder for me, which is publishing a video every day on YouTube. Oh, sorry, on every week on YouTube. And sitting down to write. This is something that's very difficult for me. But you see, the important or the interesting part is that I somehow I knew that I have to do this. Even before starting this challenge, I had a strong sense that I gotta do this. Like I gotta start this challenge to run every day. And I don't know where this is coming from. Like, I know where it's coming from. I've read a blog post from a guy I follow for years. His name is Steve Pavlina. And he did this challenge before, and I found it interesting. Like when I read the blog post, I found it interesting, and then I forgot about it. I didn't pay much attention. I'd be like, okay, that's interesting, and I moved on. But then as I got closer to October and November 2020, I got a strong sense that I gotta do this. And when I woke up on 1st of January, although I had no prior commitment, I woke up with this sense like, oh, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I started. It was surreal, man. It was surreal. Anyway, so how did this transform me, and what I can share with you from my story? First, the benefits were a lot more than I could have imagined. If you would ask me before, I would imagine like, well, okay, the benefits will be like I'm going to be more fit and I'm going to be more healthy and this and that and blah blah blah. But really, the benefits that I absolutely did not expect were my. I feel like my spirit was upgraded. Like this was literally spiritual upgrade, and it's interesting to say this just because I run every day for 1 year, right? Well, now it's 5 years, but I'm saying even after 1 year, I couldn't stop. I couldn't like it became who I am, and it became who it was the best part of my day was the running. That was the best of my day. But talking about the spiritual upgrade, how I call it, trying to explain this, trying to make it make sense, I realized I have a power that mostly everyone does not have. I realized like, oh, I can do I can do things. Like I can think, I can plan, I can strategize, I can see, I can vision, I can desire. And then I can be consistent with my actions, and I can change my future. Like I'm literally reshaping reality with just being consistent. I just have to choose well and then be consistent in that direction. That's it. And I'm like, it feels like I struck gold. Like I found something that nobody really does it. Something that is actually something that is very rare. And that's something that I did not expect before. I didn't really see this. I thought that this is going to be just like fitness and other things. This, I would say that this is the most important, but I'm describing just one part of it. It's like I've discovered the power that I have and I can cultivate in myself because I didn't have it until I develop it, if that makes sense. And one other interesting thing is that I struggled with being consistent with many things. So it's not like, oh my God, like you're talking about something that comes easy to you. No, 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 no. I struggle with many things to be consistent with. For example, in 2021, I had this idea, I want to write a book, whatever. I started to write. But my commitment, it didn't feel like it's an absolute commitment. And eventually, of course, I fell off and, I stopped. And then I was thinking about it. I said, like, how come I'm consistent with the running, but I was not consistent with the writing? Why writing comes harder for me? And I said, like, well, obviously running is, it makes me feel good. It gives me that feel good feeling. So therefore, even if it's hard, it's still good. So therefore, yeah, I can see the incentive in there. So I said, how come I couldn't be consistent with writing? And then I guess also a few years later, still before this year, I said, you know what, I want to start YouTube because, well, I want to share my ideas. I want to share ideas like this, and I'm already doing coaching. People appreciate and clients appreciate my work, and like I'm doing well in that. Is in like I feel like I provide value, and not just that I feel, but you know, my clients could testify for that. But I said, like, why not bring this instead of just like one on one, bring this to the world? Because if I provide value and I can see I help people, why not try to do this at scale, right? So then I think about YouTube. But guess what? I published a video, it was not good, I deleted it, then whatever, and eventually I stopped. So I failed multiple times with writing and publishing on YouTube in these years, right? From 2021 to 2026. But on December 2025, I got again that feeling which I had in December 2021. I got that feeling that I'm ready. Like I knew I'm not going to fail. It's almost like something arrived. It's a very strange feeling. I'm just trying to describe it. It felt like something arrived, or I have arrived somewhere where I'm already here. Like I'm not, like I already have it. And I had no doubt that I'm not going to fail. Like I'm not going to let this be the story that it was many times before when I stopped. And again, the feeling is very strange because it's just like you don't know it when it happens. You might try multiple times and say like, oh yeah, I'm committed, and then you fail, and then I'm committed and you fail. You start this and that and you fail all of them. But at one point, you will know in advance if your commitment is that strong and you're ready. I feel this is kind of crucial. If you're also ready, you know that I'm not going to skip, I'm not going to fail. So this year I started exactly this. I started something that was I failed with multiple times in the past years. Writing, I failed. Publishing on YouTube, failed. And now this year, and one more thing I failed, eating sweets. I had like like kind of like an issue, not an issue, but I would eat like a lot of sweets because of the running and all of that. Well, not necessarily. I'm finding excuses. Sorry. Okay. I would eat sweets quite often, almost every day, right? And I would have like a sweet tooth. I could eat like a lot of sweets. Those three were like something that I failed multiple times. I tried to stay away from sugar multiple times. I tried to write every day because it helps me and helps me to become a better thinker and a better speaker multiple times. YouTube multiple times. And guess what? This year in 2026, I started for an entire year, all three of them. You heard that right. Imagine that those individually were enough to break my consistency by themselves. And now this year, I know that I will not fail, and I'm tracking everything. And with the YouTube and Twitter, it's visible. You can go on my Twitter, you can see I'm publishing almost every day. And when I don't publish there, you find it in YouTube. But this year, I knew that I'm ready not just to take one of them, to take three of them, three the worst or the hardest that I failed multiple times. And I have no doubts that I'm not going to be able to, because I feel like I'm ready. So make that make sense. I know. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to make sense in order for you to learn something from this, from my experience. You have to just know that this exists and this is possible. And this is why I'm recording this video on a Sunday in the airport, because I don't want to fail my challenge and to make this video valuable. I didn't want it to just like make like a silly video and something. You're like, oh, okay, I could have just recorded like 30 seconds and go like, oh, I made a video. No, I really wanted this to be valuable. Although, you know, the setup is not right, the light is not right, like everything is not good, but it doesn't matter. And that's the point. It doesn't matter. When you understand that it really doesn't matter, when you have absolute commitment and nothing else matters, when you realize this, that's when you solved it. So I was saying, make this make sense. The fact that now in 2026, I took the three hardest things that I constantly and multiple times failed with them, and I'm confident that I'm not going to fail this year. But like I was saying, it doesn't have to make sense because I don't know where things are coming from. I don't know exactly how, but I know they do. And that's kind of like the key here. And you might think like, wait, Alan, like this happened to you, but I'm a different person. Like, you know, what's the value of you telling me what happened to you since you don't know where this is coming from, blah, blah, blah. And how would that help me? Well, I will tell you why. Because in my own life, I had points in my life where I transition where I upgraded or I realized something important because I saw or listened to someone else talking about it. Like I had realizations in my life just because I listened to a guy or like a girl saying something and it clicked. And oftentimes, even if right now nothing clicks from what I'm saying, don't worry because nothing is lost. For me, things that I heard years later combined or somehow put together with things that I heard years later, they put together and eventually something clicks. So then don't worry about the it doesn't click now. No problem. But every idea is a seed. And yeah, I guess you have to trust the process of even if I don't know how to use this, eventually you will. Like you don't have to find it. It will find you. Okay. So, what else? I I do understand how big of an issue this is for most people to be consistent. And to be honest, this is most of my work with my coaching clients is about consistency. That's literally now my setup is breaking down. That's literally the core of my work. And this is exactly why, since clients and people pay me to get help exactly with this work, I decided this year to hold myself accountable publicly. There is a public video on 1st of January 2026. There, publicly, everyone can see it, copy it, save it, whatever, where I commit publicly to what I'm going to do. Because when you because life is actually lived in the arena. Like it's easy to just say nice words to say, "Oh, I'm a coach, I'm a this and that." Like better show what you're capable of instead of just making it look like, which most people do that. So that's my challenge, and it's a real challenge because, well, as you can see me, the setup is an airport. But I want you to take something practical from this because what we've discussed so far is more like abstract. It's more like meant to kind of like open the gate towards an experience or a realization, like some place where you can eventually arrive. I'm just describing that, but it's not very practical, right? Here is here is how you can actually take this and let's make it a bit practical. First, I want you to think about one thing that you deem as absolutely good at this point in your life for you to do every day for at least 1 year. It has to be every day. It cannot be it cannot be every week or every month, every 2 days, every day. Because there is power into daily repetition. And whenever that breaks, whenever you go like, well, I'm going to do it Monday and Thursday, that introduces a lot of breaks in that, because sometimes you cannot do it Thursday, you go like, oh, I'm going to do it Friday, and then when you start shifting them, then eventually you quit them, and eventually you are back to square one. This is either you having absolute consistency, either it's not going to build. This is a muscle that you cannot build once in a while, but you have to build it with consistency every day. So I want you to think, we get practical. Think about one thing in your life that you would benefit tremendously if you would do it every day consistently. It doesn't have to be like a lot, big. No, just something that you know for a fact that would benefit your life tremendously if you would do it every day for 1 year. You cannot find it right now. You can think about it. I can share from my experience. Until now, I had first the running. I knew that is going to be good. And then writing every day. Most days I publish something on Twitter. I'm trying to crystallize an idea, like an insight. And that for me is important. And I know it's good, absolutely good, because it makes me a better thinker. It helps me organize my thinking. It helps me to share my ideas with the world. It's, it gives me exposure. It's just good, good. And with the YouTube once a week, it's also very good, kind of for the same reason, but I have to deliver it in front of the camera, right? But forget about me. Find something that it would be for you. For example, one of my clients, his lifeline, this is what I call it, lifeline, like the consistent thing that you do every day, is meditation. He does meditation every day. Nothing else. Nothing else. But this is important for you to do it this way, because once you have one thing that is good in your life and you do it every day, everything else will reorganize to accommodate and to create a new version of you. I'll give you an example. In the first year with the running, I used to still drink. I never had like a drinking problem, but if I would go to a party, I might get drunk, whatever. And mind you, this was 2021 when I had this challenge to run every day. And I got invited to a party. I went to a party. I got super drunk. And then the next day, I realized I cannot run. I couldn't raise from the bed. It was so bad that I cannot raise from the bed. And I tried to raise, and the room was spinning. And oh my God, it was like terrible. It was like high school terrible. And eventually, I remember, my God, it was like almost 11 p.m., almost failing because I have to do it until 12 a.m. And I decided, I said, what, I'm going to go run. And if I faint or something, that's okay. And I was running in the night. It was cold. I didn't want to be there. But my commitment was absolute. And I said, like, well, if I faint, I faint. I felt like dizzy. Like I would see stars, like running on one eye. I think this one, I would see like a bright light. I could not even see anything that I was running. It sounds terrible, and to trust me, it was terrible. But here's what that did for me, because the next day when I woke up, I'm like, ooh, I had this big realization. Ooh, I cannot do that anymore. I cannot go to parties, get drunk, and because I do the running. And this is where you see one good thing in my life that I committed absolutely to, reorganized everything else. Now, getting drunk at parties or getting drunk in general and doing stupid stuff, it was out of my options. And I was like, damn, that's good. I'm like, huh. I just have to find one good thing and stick to that, like in absolute terms, and everything else will have to, yeah. It's funny. Okay, so now you know I'm the airport. So that was when I had like a big realization, like, oh my god, I can now do this. Like this is something that I have to change something. Like now I had like realized I have like competing habits. I'm trying to build this habit with running every day, which I know is good. And sometimes I have this habit that, oh, if I go to a party, I might get drunk. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. And I didn't. That was the last time. It was crazy. So you see, this is one of the reasons why this has to happen every day. This is what I call it lifeline. Here is another reason why I call it lifeline. It's because you're going to have days when you're going to be confused, stressed, upset. Things happen. Like nothing is going to go your way. But that thing that you do every day will bring stability in your life, will bring you a sense of direction. That's why I call it lifeline. You know how those divers, they go in the water and they, you know, it's dark and all of that, but they have like some sort of line, I think it's called lifeline, that they can follow in the dark even if they don't see. That's what I mean. The line in the dark that even if you don't see, you can find is this something that you do every day. Something that you do every day. So, back to being practical, I want you to think about something that would be good for you, like something that you would be able to commit to every day to the same degree. It can be anything. It doesn't matter what it is, but it can be anything that you deem to be good. Has to be something that it doesn't, it's not good just like in some cases, it's not good just like once in a while. No, something that you know that will have a tremendous impact in your life. And if you do that, like if you find it, and you can talk to ChatGPT and ask, and you know it will help you to brainstorm ideas and all of that, and you can filter from it, and eventually you can find one. Once you find it, that's where you have to find it in yourself. Exactly, this absolute commitment. Imagine like your commitment is not towards the thing, like the running. The commitment is towards a better version of you, and that thing that you commit to do every day consistently is the way you arrive there. But you don't necessarily commit to the thing. Do you understand? It's almost like you can commit to the thing, like the running, but keep in mind that what you're actually committing to is the idea, that version of you, that different, better version of you that will be in 1 year from now. And that is like some, you know, personal work that you have to do. That's why I recommend to my clients to do reflection, especially in the morning, at the beginning of the day, to or at the end of the day as well, to have some time where you can just like take a step back and look at your life and look at your like circumstances and see where things are going, what do you want to change, what you could do better. Because we go and we continue blindly for months and years and decades, and we never question the direction in which we are just blindly following. That's why when you step back, you go like, look, what would be one good thing that I can commit to every day for 1 year? That is where you stop the more, like stop the kind of like just continuing randomly, and you pick like a direction. You decide to go in a specific direction, a direction of your own design. And that's the key principle in here. When you do something like this, you are designing your life, right? If I started with the running, I designed that I want to be more fit, and I want to train my spirit, and I want to train my commitment, and I want to train my character. And then this year, when I decided that I'm going to write every day, that once a week I'm going to record a video, that is another upgrade. I'm upgrading my thinking, I'm upgrading my communication skills, I'm exposing myself to the world. And that is just another layer that I'm adding on top, using the same skill, absolute commitment. So let me see if I because definitely, like, by the way, this is just, am I still recording? This is just what I can think of right now because I'm speaking like pretty low. I'm in a cafe, whatever. But maybe one day I'm going to write a book about this because there is so much more. If I sit down to note ideas, there is so much more that I've learned. And maybe one day I'm going to try to make this into a framework. Like, how do you actually achieve this? Like, how do you do this? How can I transmit? This is one of the things that I want to do. Find a way to extract the value from my experience and be able to transmit this at scale. Because right now it's just like it's a conversation. It's not like I'm just giving you a bit of perspective. I'm sharing you my experience. It's not like, oh my God, sit down and take notes. It's not that thing, right? But definitely would be useful for me to structure this and be able to deliver it at scale. That's definitely going to be like a future challenge. For now, let's see. I also believe in windows of opportunity. Right now, for example, if you're watching this video, and it doesn't matter because I know like YouTube is very, like, it's pretty hard. It's pretty difficult. Everyone knows this, especially at the beginning. If you don't come up with like clickbaity titles and subjects and all of that, like, it's not going to give you free traction. So it's hard. But I'm saying, at any point in time, if you are watching this, understand that this is an opportunity for you to take the decision to put in the work, to sit down and reflect and make your own design right now. This is an opportunity, because if you don't do it now, you'll just forget. You'll fall asleep. You'll be like, oh yeah, that's nice. I'm going to do it one day. And then other things, you're going to watch the next video, whatever. And then you're just going to forget. So I'm saying, take this opportunity. If you are watching this, if you got so far, most people do not. They just click away 30 seconds in. And I'm saying, use it, like capitalize on it, because this is where you yourself have struck gold. I found my own gold and I'm sharing from my experience with you. And this is your opportunity to, to bring the diamond in yourself out. You totally have it. Everyone has it. But we just need to start somewhere. And where to start, where is a better place to start than now?